Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Conversity e-commerce webinar series. I'm Brad Christian, Chief Commercial Officer at Conversity. Today, we're going to talk about creating personalized recommendations for beauty care online. Now, we're going to talk about cosmetics, and we're certainly going to talk about beauty care, but we're also going to spend a lot of time talking about personalization. And so hopefully you've come because you want to learn more about personalization and how that affects e-commerce practice and business results. So I am joined by two very talented e-commerce executives that I'm going to introduce in just a moment. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about some housekeeping items. So first of all, we're going to go for about 45 minutes today. We will finish early enough so that any questions that you might have, you can ask. Feel free to ask those along the way by putting them in the Q&A feature here in the webinar tool. And if you have any issues, please use the raise hand feature and our technology gurus will jump in and try to help you out. So again, as I was sharing, I have two very talented team members that I'm presenting with you today, Janis Thomas with Look Fabulous Forever and Hanna Wilcox with Conversity. Janis, do you want to say hello and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Janis Thomas. I am the e-commerce and marketing director at Look Fabulous Forever.
And
Hi, I'm Hanna Wilcox. I'm head of customer experience at Conversity. So with my team here at Conversity, we design the customer experiences that we put onto people's websites. And I bring with me lots of experience from having worked at Unilever in customer insight and then in John Lewis in customer experience and customer strategy.
Great. So before we dive in, just quickly want to talk a little bit about Conversity and Look Fabulous Forever in terms of who our businesses are and what we do. And so Conversity is a global provider of customer personalization technology. We specialize in helping brands and retailers connect with consumers online and in store for the sole purpose of driving dynamic conversations that create recommendations, product and service recommendations. Our approach triples conversion rates and helps grow brand loyalty. So that's who we are. I want to talk a little bit about intelligent guided selling, specifically in terms of what the results it creates. And so there's really four things that we see organizations benefiting from. And the first is helping them build a more human, more personal connection between the brand and the consumer. The second is it improves sales performance in terms of both increasing conversion as well as upsell uptake. Third is the idea that you can better educate your consumer and more fully inform them on how to think about buying from you or buying your category. And then the last and probably the most pertinent thing that's happening today in the marketplace is this idea of getting insight into who's coming to your site, what they think about themselves, what their interests are, what they choose to buy, what they choose not to buy, which upsell offers they choose to take and not, all becomes very, very critically important to businesses as they try to optimize their e-commerce platforms. So that's Conversity, and that's a little bit about intelligent guided selling. Janis, do you want to talk a little bit about Look Fabulous Forever?
Of course. So Look Fabulous Forever, we are a beauty brand for older women. And by older women, I don't mean what the rest of the beauty industry is generally talking about, anyone over about 30. We target women who are predominantly in their 60s and 70s. And our founder started the brand almost 8 years ago. And essentially she found, particularly after she'd been through menopause, that the products that she had traditionally used weren't great for her skin as she got older. And she just looked around and said, look, there are no mainstream beauty brands or retailers who are catering to older women. They just think that, you know, you pass 50 and you've given up. Whereas clearly that's not the case, that, you know, she looks amazing. And so does so many of our customers, and they're an absolute inspiration as to what it means to be older and to be powerful and important and relevant and all of those things. So Trisha was frustrated that there was nothing out there that was designed for her. So she said, right, I'm going to do it myself then. And literally, you know, formulated products, found someone to manufacture them, all of this she started up on her own, and developed all these products and then kind of built the brand out from there. And it's a really exciting project that I'm just so delighted to be part of. I'm very proud.
Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about the business problem that you were trying to address as you think about personalization for the business?
Indeed. So one of the things that is particularly for color makeup products, the barrier to purchase is, how do I find the right color that is going to suit me? And particularly, we've been through this period where shops were closed, and even when they were open, you weren't able to test color makeup products for hygiene reasons. So suddenly people have been like, okay, now how do I make that decision about what lipstick is going to suit me, what blusher, what eyeshadow, all of those things? And this is something that we've been struggling with from day one, because essentially we are a 100% online only direct to consumer business. So, and we sell color makeup products as our primary range. So how do we get people to find the right color? And so we started off and we said, well, let's address this from a customer service perspective. So we give a 30-day guarantee that you can try any product you like, and if it doesn't suit you, you can send it back and you can either exchange it for another color or you can have a full refund. And try going into Boots and say, oh, I tried this lipstick, it didn't suit me. You're going to say, well, tough. So we have this fantastic guarantee. We have advisors who are all older women themselves, and they're available by phone, chat, and email. So you can say, what do you think I should buy? What would you recommend for me? And one of the things that is quite widely understood by our customer base is this concept of warm versus cool coloring, and how different colors suit you due to the undertone in your skin. And particularly, this is 88% of our existing customers understand this, and 68% of our potential customers. So it's quite widely understood, but there's still that barrier to some people, a significant proportion, who don't know whether they're warm or cool, and then, oh, what colors should I be picking? So we had this issue. How do we help customers choose the right products or colors without actually having to speak to us? If they want to speak to us, fantastic, that's a core part of our brand that we're absolutely there for them. But if they just want to deal with us online, how do we help them through that process?
It's such a common thing that we see, Janice, as well, you know, is actually, how do you translate those experiences that, you know, most commonly would have happened in a physical environment into online, on you know, to be able to do them just as effectively online. And I think this beauty side of stuff particularly is so key, like you say, because it's a very different way of purchasing. Yeah.
You know, it's true. Beauty care, cosmetics is absolutely a viable category where consumers need help. But we did some research earlier this year. We conducted a global e-commerce study, and we asked consumers specifically, what could brands and retailers do to increase your confidence to purchase online? And you can see the top answers here. Giving them the ability to compare product features and benefits. Almost half of the consumers suggested that was something they'd like to see more frequently, followed by better search and filtering, live chat with an online sales advisor, personalized offers and recommendations. And the sixth item here, help me choose guides and technology. So 4 of the top 6 things that our customers raised their hands and said, this is what I'm looking for, loosely described, is personalization. So it transcends categories, and you know, it is what consumers are looking for to have higher confidence level. And obviously, I know, Janis, you're going to talk a little bit more about why does personalization matter. There's a host of reasons that's important, but everyone's suggesting that this kind of innovation is important on e-commerce platforms. So with that said, there's a lot of tools out there in the marketplace that offer personalization. Janis, can you tell our audience a little bit about, you know, why guided selling? What was it about that particular technology that you thought was most pertinent?
Yes, so as I said, we've been kind of thinking about this almost from day one, kind of exploring different options, and kind of the thing that came through is that we needed to help customers through this process, that there's a lot of information that we were providing that's available online and all of those things, but they still weren't sure at the end of it. So we needed something that was more than just a set of instructions, it was an actual experience. And we looked at a lot of options, particularly we thought that AR might be a solution. We were initially like, oh, are our customers going to engage with AR? And actually, you know, we saw, particularly on our private Facebook group, loads of people were engaging with, you know, putting different hair colors on and kind of all of those things. So they're fine with AR technology. But particularly when we talk to AR providers, one of the things that it struggles with is the reason that some colors suit us better than others is to do with the way they refract light on our skin, and AR just struggles to replicate that. So that was kind of part of the reason that we put AR to one side. And then we looked at, there's loads of tools that enable you to build a quiz, and we were kind of like, well, we're not sure quite where to start. We provide all this information to consumers that we would put into a quiz, but they still don't know at the end of it. So we need to create something that's a little bit more of an experience that takes people through. And in particular, they need to be confident at the end that the recommendations that they are being given are right for them, specifically based on the questions that they've been asked. And then at that exact moment that we had been looking at quiz solutions, looking at AR, I met Brad, and, you know, he was like, do you know what? That's exactly what we do. And I think that for us, that there was going to be somebody who's going to help us build an experience that really understood that consumer behavior and psychology that feeds into it, would made them the absolutely perfect partner for us.
Well, thank you for that. So, and there's a lot that goes into what we do. And so, Hanna, maybe it's appropriate for you to talk a little bit about your approach.
Yeah, sure. So this is a common approach that we use with all of our clients, but I think Janis particularly, we worked very closely together over the period of quite a few weeks, and it is a very collaborative and consultative approach. And it needs to be, you know, we are specialists in how you translate knowledge that's in the company into an experience, but we're not specialists on every single brand and category. So, you know, it was really critical to really understand the pain points and what was needed to help your consumers. So I think the first principle is to be really customer focused. So to really get into the skin of what's going on, ask lots of whys, what the pain points are, how we want the customers to feel. So confidence was absolutely crystal clear that that's what we needed to drive, not only confidence in the undertone being correctly identified, but to increase confidence in even how to answer some of the questions and to demystify some of the things that we needed to get from the customer. The second area was around harnessing the knowledge and expertise that already existed within Look Fabulous Forever. And the specialists that Janis has already mentioned that are on the end of the phone or chat or email are mature women themselves. They are completely in line with the target audience, you know, have spent years working with these ladies to help them identify what their undertone, their undertone is, and really understand them. So we worked a lot with them as well to understand what knowledge already existed, and then also some of the areas where there were particular points of education needed, or areas where we particularly needed to help the customers feel more confident. And then the third area was to be really super focused on the outcomes and aligned on the outcomes, because Janis didn't come to me and say, right, this is what I want you to do. We know exactly what we want to do. You guys go off and just pretty it up and implement it. It was much more kind of collaborative than that in terms of the design process. So we aligned on the outcomes, of which there were several. So one being that the algorithm had to be smart enough that it could give a correct undertone for each consumer that was accurate and definitive. We didn't really want lots of people in this grey area in between warm and cool, the neutral area. And we agreed that around only about 10% of those people that used the quiz should fall into this sort of category in the middle. We also agreed on the fact that the guided selling journey needed to guide, it needed to support, and it needed to educate, whilst also helping the customers get to feel more confident. The design principles, that the quiz needed to be fun, it needed to be frictionless, and it really needed to be easy, and it needed to be something that basically people wanted to engage with, for them to kind of go through the journey on there. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, emotion. We all know that emotion plays a huge role in delivering great customer experiences, and actually that helping the ladies who were using this quiz feel good about themselves and help inspire that confidence that Trisha is trying to spread through her brand was absolutely critical as well. One of the things that's probably worth just pausing on for a minute, I think Brad's already touched on it, is consumer psychology really is at the heart of our approach. We really do believe that understanding who it is that you're building the journey for and why they are going to be taking part in this journey is critical to deliver a great experience to the customer. So as we all know, consumer behavior, it's really important to understand why people think and act in the way they do and the factors that influence those thoughts. I've already mentioned feelings. Emotion is also really important in terms of consumer behavior too. And all of these things influence how people make decisions. And obviously we wanted to tailor, and we always do want to tailor our experiences to really both engage with the consumers, but help and support them in the way they needed to be helped. A really fundamental part of our approach is to think about a mindset. What mindset might the consumers be in who are using our guided selling journey? And essentially the mindset is really just the frame of mind that the consumer is in. And this influences the needs the consumers would have, the way that they're making choices, the decisions that they make. And it also has quite a big impact on the information that they engage with and how they navigate through the journeys that we design. And so the final area in terms of the consumer psychology approach that we have is around the psychology of design. So all of this feeds into the questions that we ask, the order that we ask the questions in within a guided selling journey. Wording is so important in terms of framing how we ask a question. Imagery, I'll come on and talk about in a minute. This was really critical in the Look Fabulous Forever design particularly. And then the overall visual design of our guided selling journeys as well. Really important that they completely align with the brand to create that sense of identity. So this is the colour quiz, as it's called, on the Look Fabulous Forever website. So this is the first screen that you see, and this is the welcome screen, and it's designed really just to engage with the consumer, start to show some empathy, that we understand how they feel, that knowing which undertone you are can be confusing, but here, look, we're going to help you. It's a strong call to action. And this is where we have Trisha front and centre. She's for consumers or customers who've used Look Fabulous for Forever before. She's very recognisable, very well known, and as we mentioned earlier, extremely glamorous and a great role model for the ladies we're trying to engage with. So all of our questions, we really thought about how we were going to word them, how we were going to frame them, how we were going to display them on the screen. And this particular question, we wanted to remind the women who were using this quiz that actually this is all about feeling the best version of yourself. This is all about thinking about when do you feel great. And we know that the colours that make someone feel great generally are naturally the ones which complement somebody's skin tone. So this is framed positively. And then if you just flip back for a sec, Brad. Just wanted to touch on a sec, the models that we used throughout the colour quiz were very identifiable for the ladies who were doing this. So it's very much, for people like me, real people, and they are warm or cool-toned ladies. Another aspect of our quiz was that, yes, we've got this really super smart algorithm that sits in the background and takes the responses to each of the questions that we ask the consumers to identify whether they're warm or cool toned. However, we knew from the outset that there was going to be some people that it was harder to determine from the outset which which way we should push them. So we brought in this concept of dynamic questioning, where only for certain people in certain situations, we asked an additional question, which was to ask them, go and have a look in your wardrobe and have a look at the types of, the shades of clothing that you've got in there. Because generally speaking, we believed in that it was common wisdom that actually most ladies would naturally be gravitating towards clothes that complemented their colouring. And as we've touched on a couple of times already, education and demystifying things was really key within the guided selling journey design. And one of the areas that we knew from previous research and from conversations with the specialists internally was actually having a look, and I bet you there's a few people on this now having a look themselves, what colour is the veins you can see in your wrist. This is actually a really key way to determine whether you're warm or cool toned. But we knew from previous research that actually lots of people said they just didn't know. So this is where we use what we call modal content, which if somebody's not sure, this pops up on the screen to kind of give them some guidance around how they can understand that question. And again, this is helping to drive confidence that they've given the correct response, which then drives confidence that we've allocated them correctly as a warm or cool tone person.
Yeah, and Hannah, I think it's interesting. What you just walked through is a degree of education, as you said, and teaching consumers who they are and what skin tone they are, their vein color and what they have in their closet. And I think that's the interesting thing about what's been done here is you're creating a mindset in the journey so that it's not about identifying, excuse me, what the mindset is before they start. You're actually creating that mindset along the way. And so that degree of personalization is a key for e-commerce success because it creates buying confidence. How do we do that in these journeys?
So this is the recommendations page that we designed with Janis, and it was a very deliberate design in that actually we knew from the outset, yes, we want to get the consumers to show them, get in front of them the products that are right and appropriate for them. However, in order for them to engage with those products, we really needed to build the confidence, first of all, that they were either warm or cool toned and what that meant. So it's very deliberate design that actually the first message and the lead message on this page is whether the person is warm or cool and what that means. We also asked them during the colour quiz what type of look they were looking for, whether they were looking for more of an evening look or a daytime look, and to build that connection with, like you say, the mindset that they are in. And then the third aspect of it was then to actually show them the colours that would be appropriate, A, for them, and B, to reproduce the look that they're hoping to achieve. And I think the thing just to pause on here for a moment is we have this really super complex algorithm that sits in the background and does all of this to help understand what products to show. But actually with this particular guided selling design, we also use that to serve up the different imagery and different content, different copy dependent on that individual's allocation, let's say. And so this particular image that we've used here is one of the models, which is commonly used on the Look Fabulous Forever website. And she is a warm toned model, and she is indeed wearing the bolder look for a glamorous evening with the colours that are below. So it does make it more real and drives that sort of engagement and connection with the consumers.
You know, it really is an interesting integration of technology and customer experience, consumer psychology. What I'll bundle up is called sophistication. So it's this consultation plus tech that really brings it all together. Janis, what's the point? What kind of results are you seeing from this?
Yeah, so we've been really pleased with how it's done. That particularly we regularly survey our customers to understand how we're doing and how we can do better. And in our last survey, we specifically asked them, have they tried the quiz? And if they have tried it, are they happy? You know, what do they think of it? And 96% of customers said that they were either satisfied or very satisfied with their recommendations from the quiz. So that is really, really positive to show that confidence piece that was the intention behind it is really coming through in the results. We also saw a significant increase in our NPS score, which was absolutely unexpected and delighting. We had seen quite consistent NPS scores over the previous year, and then we saw a dramatic uptick in the quarter that we implemented the colour quiz, and that was the main change in terms of our website experience over that period. So it's reasonable to say that it played a key part. And the other piece that we're really pleased with is 75% of people who start the quiz actually get through right to the end to their recommendations. So they're clearly enjoying it and engaged and think it's worth continuing with.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. One of the things about being Chief Commercial Officer here at Conversity is obviously I love delighted customers. You know, that makes my day. What I think is an added benefit being here is I learned so much from our customers. You know, Janis, you've taught me so much about some of the strategies and the thoughts when we were first talking. And I recall you sharing with me a little bit about how all the things we've talked about so far were important and a part of your plan, but also the idea of taking this and generating marketing messaging and you know, kind of the funnel metrics, if you will. That was really intriguing to me. So I wonder if you could share a little bit about that with the audience.
Indeed. So the main reason why we designed this was really around conversion, and that was kind of the kind of objective, because we thought that we have people who've heard of the brand and have bought into the brand and been looking at the products and they would like to buy, but they're just not sure what colors are going to suit them. So we really need to help them with that final point that's going to get them over the line. And what we were very surprised by when we launched the quiz, that actually where we saw the biggest amount of engagement was for people who didn't know Look Fabulous Forever, that they'd never interacted with the brand, they'd never visited our website or any of those things. And our first interaction was with the quiz. And this was just a complete surprise to us, that actually this was going to be this key vehicle to educate people about Look Fabulous Forever and take them on that journey to purchase. So kind of how we're positioning the marketing for it, we still use it, particularly on our product pages, that when people are browsing colors and they need help deciding what they want to buy, then the quiz is there. But we're using it much more top of funnel as a new customer acquisition tool to get people to engage with Look Fabulous Forever for the first time.
Yeah, I thought that was really insightful. So thanks for sharing that. It sounds like we're on a journey, no pun intended. What's next?
Yeah, so what has been interesting is obviously we thought there's going to be this very kind of bottom of funnel, you know, right, I'm ready to buy my products, I just need to know what color to buy. And actually it's been this very top of funnel, I'm just getting to know LFF for the first time. So one of the things that we're working together to develop is for customers to be able to have their recommendations emailed to them so they can save them and come back to them at a later date, to then when they're ready to make a purchase. Because particularly one of the things that we've seen already is that a lot of people who were visiting the color quiz initially on mobile, because most of our particularly advertising tends to be on mobile, those users who've been on mobile, a lot of them were coming back later on desktop, which desktop tends to be a much more of a kind of purchase and conversion device for us. So being able to make that journey much easier for them, to saying, okay, you don't need to try and remember what your quiz results were or try and go through them again or anything like that. We're going to send them to you so they're there waiting for you when you're ready to make that purchase. And one of the other things that we are working on, that when we were designing this, we kind of didn't know, are these recommendations going to be right or not? Are people like them, engage with them, or are we going to have to tweak them? So particularly when Hannah talked about the imagery, we generally used existing imagery, and particularly we were building in the first quarter of this year when we were in full lockdown. So even if we wanted dedicated imagery, we couldn't have shot, particularly with our target audience during that time. So we are planning to update the imagery with the specific color recommendations that we have in the quiz, rather than a more generic, as Hannah said, this is a warm-toned customer with a daytime or evening or whatever look.
Janis, we really appreciate you joining us today and taking our audience through your journey so far with Conversity and sort of the path forward to continuing your personalization on your website. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the session. And now we'd like to answer any of the questions that you've posed in the tool here. And so I'm just going to look for a few of those now. Okay, here's one. Excuse me, Hannah, I think this may be for you. Does the value of this service vary based on the number of items I have available on my site?
The short answer is no. Whether you have, I mean, we work with very short catalogues of products, 6, 8, something like that, right the way up to thousands. The value comes from helping the consumers be able to navigate choice online and to be able to frame it in a way that helps them shortcut, that absolute overload of not knowing how to navigate a product. And as we've already picked up on quite a number of times in this session today, education is really, really key. So in some cases, part of our job when we're designing these guided selling journeys is how do you educate somebody to know the things that they need to know in order to buy this particular category? So whether you're selling a short catalogue of 6 products or thousands, that challenge of how to buy certain categories online still exists. So in my personal view, it's suitable for any size of product catalogue. Perfect.
And Janis, how does this technology fit with your broader personalization strategy?
Yes, so it complements it incredibly well. That particularly where it fits really nicely is that the rest of our site is much more about product recommendations. That we think that customers like you are going to be in the market for lipstick, that if you buy lipstick you are more likely to buy, say, blusher with it, or whatever the case may be. And we have these very dynamic product recommendations, and then the quiz results then sit alongside that actually if you're going to buy lipstick, then what color lipstick should you buy? So it kind of fits for this holistic experience that we're going to help you find both the right products and the right colors for you. And that's one of the things that we refined when we were doing the recommendations, was also actually if you're doing an evening look, then you're probably going to need slightly different base, or you might use a highlighter or a bronzer if you're looking for something more glamorous, and those kind of things kind of fed into those recommendations as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. Hannah, I think we've got one more here that I'm the word technology appears in it, so I don't know if you want this one or not, but where do I start with this technology?
Well, I will always say the same thing, which is you start with the problem and then the technology comes second. Janis is nodding along, so I think hopefully Janis agrees with me there. Actually you can have the best technology in the world, but if you don't understand exactly what it is that your problem you're trying to fix, for whom, why, when, how on earth can you hope to be able to design a great experience? And so that's something we really believe in Conversity, is really start with getting under the skin of the psychology of the consumer, understanding their pain points or the opportunities of where you can engage them, because then that, as I've said already, it drives everything about how we design it, and then the technology basically enables the great experience that we're trying to design.
Perfect. So if there are any other questions, we've got some email addresses here on the screen. I'd like to just pause for a moment. Janis, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate your time. And as I shared before, I learn a ton every time we talk about this topic. And Hannah, thank you as well. And to our audience, very much appreciate your time. Hopefully you came away with some learning and insight about how personalization can help you on your e-commerce journey. Thanks for joining us.